Welcome back to Nation of Glory. Today we bring you the story of a man whose face paint, whose mysterious presence, and whose unmatched charisma captured the imagination of wrestling fans for decades. A man who rose from humble beginnings to become one of the most iconic and respected figures in professional wrestling history. This is the story of Steve Borden, the man the world came to know as Sting. Stay with us until the very end, because this is not just a wrestling story, this is a journey of resilience, reinvention, and legacy. Steve Borden was born on March 20, 1959, in Omaha, Nebraska, but grew up in Southern California. Like many kids of his generation, his early life wasn't about wrestling. In fact, as a young man, wrestling wasn't even on his radar. Steve grew up loving sports, fitness, and competition. He played basketball and football, worked out religiously, and had the physique and discipline that made him stand out. Wrestling wasn't part of the plan, but life has a way of guiding us toward our destiny. In the mid-1980s, he owned a Gold's Gym in California, where fate would intervene. He met a group of bodybuilders who were breaking into professional wrestling. They encouraged him to give it a try. At first, Steve wasn't interested. He had never even been a wrestling fan. But curiosity got the better of him. Soon he found himself training, learning the craft, and realizing that wrestling could give him something more than just a career. It could give him a platform, a stage, a chance to become larger than life. And with that, his transformation began. His first step into the wrestling world was as part of a tag team known as the Blade Runners. Alongside a young Jim Hellwig, who later became famous as the Ultimate Warrior, Steve began learning the ropes in small promotions. They had the look, big muscles, intense presence, but they were still raw, still figuring things out. The team didn't last long, but Steve Borden had found his calling. He reinvented himself as Sting, a brightly painted, charismatic powerhouse whose energy electrified the crowd. Fans noticed immediately. Here was someone who stood out from the pack, someone unforgettable. By the late 1980s, Sting had found his home in Jim Crockett Promotions, which would later become World Championship Wrestling, WCW. This was where he would make his name. With his bleached blonde hair, colorful face paint, and vibrant ring gear, Sting was unlike anyone else. He wasn't just a wrestler, he was a superhero come to life. His energy, his athleticism, and his ability to connect with fans made him an instant favorite. And soon, he was in the ring with legends like Ric Flair, going toe-to-toe in matches that fans still talk about today. His match against Ric Flair at Clash of the Champions in 1988 is considered a defining moment in his career. It was the match that put Sting on the map, showing the world that he wasn't just a flashy character, he was the real deal. From then on, Sting became the face of WCW. He held championships, headlined pay-per-views, and became the man fans associated with the company. When people thought of WCW, they thought of Sting. But wrestling is about reinvention, and Sting understood that. As the 1990s rolled on, WCW entered the Monday Night Wars against WWE, and the wrestling world was changing. The colorful heroes of the 80s were giving way to darker, edgier characters. Sting felt the need to evolve. And so came one of the most dramatic transformations in wrestling history. Gone was the colorful surfer Sting. In his place emerged a darker, silent figure inspired by the movie The Crow. With black and white face paint, a trench coat, and a baseball bat, Sting became a mysterious vigilante watching from the rafters, waiting for the right moment to strike. This version of Sting captivated audiences in a way few characters ever had. He rarely spoke, but he didn't have to. His presence alone spoke volumes. For over a year, he never wrestled, simply watching from the shadows as WCW fought against the villainous New World Order. Fans waited with anticipation, week after week, wondering when Sting would finally strike. And when he did, it was unforgettable. His feud with the NWO defined WCW's success in the late 1990s. He wasn't just a wrestler anymore, he was a symbol, a hero fighting against the odds, and the fans loved him for it. But as WCW eventually declined and was bought out by WWE in 2001, Sting made a surprising choice. He didn't go to WWE right away, as many fans expected. Instead, he chose to work with Total Nonstop Action Wrestling, TNA, where he continued to wrestle and mentor younger stars. For over a decade, Sting helped build TNA, giving credibility to the company and proving that he still had the ability to connect with fans everywhere. He wasn't just clinging to his past, he was building the future of wrestling. Finally, in 2014, Sting made his long-awaited debut in WWE. For fans, it was a moment of pure magic. After years of waiting, they finally saw Sting in a WWE ring. Though his time there was brief and injury cut it short, he still left a mark. His matches against Triple H and Seth Rollins reminded everyone that Sting was more than just nostalgia. He was a legend whose name belonged alongside the greats. In 2020, long after most thought his career was over, Sting shocked the world once again. He appeared in All Elite Wrestling, AU. At an age when most wrestlers had long since hung up their boots, Sting proved he still had the passion and the presence to excite a crowd. Teaming with younger stars like Darby Allin, Sting showed that legacy isn't just about the past, it's about giving back to the future. And even in his final matches, he delivered moments that fans will never forget. When he announced his retirement in 2024, it was bittersweet. Fans knew it was time, but they also knew they had witnessed one of the greatest careers in wrestling history. What makes Sting's story so powerful isn't just the championships, the matches, or the moments. It's the way he connected with fans. Sting wasn't just a wrestler. He was hope. He was resilience. He was proof that you could reinvent yourself, face challenges, and still come out stronger. From the colorful surfer to the dark avenger, from WCW to AU, Sting always found a way to stay relevant, to stay loved, and to stay true to himself. Behind the pain, behind the character, Steve Borden is a man of faith, a family man, and someone who has spoken openly about his struggles and his growth. He has inspired not just with his in-ring performances, but with his life outside the ring. His story is one of transformation, perseverance, and heart. Today, Sting's name stands among the immortals. He may have retired from the ring, but his legacy will never fade. For every fan who painted their face to look like him, for every kid who dreamed of swinging a bat from the rafters, for every person who believed in heroes, Sting will always be there. His story is not just a wrestling story. It's a human story. A story of finding your place, reinventing yourself, and leaving behind something that will last forever. This has been the story of Sting, Steve Borden, a man who became an icon, a legend, and a hero. Thank you for staying with us until the very end. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Nation of Glory for more incredible journeys from the world of wrestling and Hollywood. Until next time, remember, legends never die, they live on in the stories we tell.